On the eve of our engagement, my boyfriend, Leo, got drunk at a party with his friends. I was standing outside the private room, ready to take him home, when I overheard him boasting to his buddies. My girlfriend is absolutely devoted to me. His friends, full of flattery, asked him to share his secret to keeping a woman wrapped around his finger. It's simple, he said with a smug laugh. All it took was driving 4 hours across the province to see her once. A flicker of warmth touched my heart, but his next words plunged it into an icy abyss. She was young and beautiful back then, and clean. Even with the cost of gas and tolls, it was a much better deal than hiring a prostitute. My carefully constructed dream, a beautiful illusion I had lived in for years, shattered. The smooth, handsome voice from inside continued, "Don't you guys dare tell her, though. All these years, she's been convinced it's true love. She still talks about how she'll never forget the way my eyes shone even when I was drenched in rain for her." His friend, even more drunk, slurred, "Man, you're one lucky bastard, finding one that stupid." Someone else snickered. "Hey, Leo, you and your fiancée, you didn't meet her while you were soliciting, did you?" A roar of laughter erupted from the room. The world tilted on its axis. I looked up, double-checking the room number, praying it was just someone with a voice identical to Leo's. But the banter continued, and Leo's clear, warm tone destroyed my last shred of hope. He laughed, a playful anger in his voice as he mimed throwing a beer bottle. "I'll tear that filthy mouth of yours right off. Seriously, don't tell her," he added. "Otherwise, I'll lose my leverage over her." The room was alive with boisterous energy. My heart felt like it was trapped in the dead of a frozen winter. Before this moment, I thought I had found true love, a slow-simmered comfort in an age of instant gratification. I hadn't realized I'd found a demon wrapped in human skin. "Bro, that was years ago," another friend slurred. "You still looking around these days?" Leo's voice dripped with arrogance. "Not yet. I'll wait till I'm tired of playing with her." A wave of dizziness and nausea washed over me. I leaned against the door for support. Just for the way he belittled me in front of his friends, this relationship was over. There was no going back. A waiter, giving me a quizzical look, pushed open the door to deliver another case of beer. The laughter inside died the second they saw me. Leo, with beer still dripping from his chin, froze on the spot. He recovered quickly, a practiced smile sliding onto his face, completely ignoring the storm on mine. "Jade, you're here to pick me up?" He was utterly unconcerned. After all, this wasn't the first time he'd said nasty things behind my back. He was confident he could placate me with a few sweet words and this would all blow over. But he shouldn't have let me find out. He shouldn't have let me know his feelings for me were a cocktail of lies and convenience. The atmosphere in the room grew cold. One of his friends, a crony with bleached blonde hair, wasn't fazed. He grinned at me. "Don't be mad, sis-in-law. It's bad for your health. How about a drink with us?" I ignored him, my face a mask of ice. I walked straight to Leo and slapped him, hard. A bright red handprint blossomed on his cheek. I studied it for a moment. It looked asymmetrical. Before he could react, I swung my other hand, delivering a second slap to the other side. Seeing both his cheeks flush a satisfying red, I spat out the words, "We're done," and walked out. I couldn't stand to be in that disgusting room for another second. Leo, clutching his stinging face, scrambled after me, leaving his phone behind. "Jade, trust me, I was just joking with them." He grabbed my hand. "Why can't you be more understanding? It's not like I actually did anything. It was just talk." "Everyone talks about stuff like that," he pleaded. "If I don't join in, I'll be an outcast." I stopped and turned to look him in the eye. 3 years ago, right after graduation, our jobs were in different cities. A summer storm had ambushed the city, and he was waiting for me downstairs after work. He stood outside his car, getting completely soaked, just so I would see him the moment I walked out. I remember his eyes, clear and brilliant, fixed on me with a burning intensity. So warm, so passionate. "I missed you so much, Jade," he had murmured, his voice thick with emotion. It was so easy to fall into that kind of tenderness. But now I knew. The 4-hour drive wasn't a grand romantic gesture. It was a cost-benefit analysis. A prostitute came with the risk of being caught, of disease. I was cheaper, cleaner, and safer. Even better, I would be moved to tears, willing to give him anything he wanted. It was a win on every front. Why wouldn't he? I looked at the false sincerity swimming in his eyes, and the disappointment in my heart threatened to overflow. "I'll pack up the gifts you gave me and send them back," I said, my voice flat. "This is the end for us." Leo stood frozen, the confusion on his face looking genuine for once. He was right, he hadn't physically cheated. But he was no longer clean. And a man who wasn't clean, who had no integrity. Who would want him? I certainly didn't. While I was still reeling from the spiritual betrayal of my boyfriend of 7 years, my mother called. "Jade, what tantrum are you throwing now?" she demanded without preamble. "A boy as good as Leo is impossible to find. How could you break up with him?" The usual barrage of accusations followed. Sometimes I wondered if I was her child or if he was. "You should worry about your own precious son first," I retorted. She bristled at my sarcastic tone. "Jade, is that any way to speak to your elders?" "I don't care," she snapped. "I've already received the $10,000 engagement gift. Consider it a present from you, the sister, to your brother." She hung up before I could reply. I sighed. Leo was certainly efficient. Didn't he know my family was a bottomless pit? In the past, he would never have gone against my wishes so blatantly. Now, he had learned to act first and inform me later, backing me into a corner. Perhaps I had never really known him at all. My family had always favored my brother. I fought tooth and nail to get into a top university. My parents tried to hide my acceptance letter, intending to marry me off for a bride price of a mere $1,000. My high school principal had to intervene, explaining the benefits of my education, but they wouldn't budge. In the end, I had to write an IOU, promising to give them $10,000 after graduation, just to be allowed to go. When I left, my principal secretly slipped $20 into my hand and told me to study hard. My family, of course, never sent me a penny for living expenses. I survived on odd jobs, but I never let my studies suffer. I was always at the top of my class. The top scholarship should have been mine. But I couldn't compete with someone whose family had connections. I was counting on that scholarship to pay for my next semester's tuition when the news hit me like a thunderbolt. With barely any money. I hadn't eaten a proper meal in days. I fainted. When I woke up, I saw a deposit in my bank account with the note, "Scholarship." It was Leo. He had fought for me, using his family's influence to pressure the university to give me the spot I had earned. The money itself, he had fronted. He hated group projects, and I would always end up doing his share out of exasperation. He had the grace to be embarrassed about it, transferring me enough money to live on for half a year in exchange for me doing his coursework. For me, a student preparing for graduate exams, it was a lifeline. I always held a sense of gratitude towards him. It's no exaggeration to say that half the credit for his high grades belonged to me. But over the years, I had helped him more than enough. I had never brought him shame in any aspect of our lives. Or perhaps, he had simply never let me into his real circle. After I slapped him, we didn't speak for a while. I gathered everything he had ever given me and returned it all. It wasn't that he didn't try to contact me, it was that every time I thought about him saying "wait till I'm tired of playing with her," I felt sick to my stomach. Besides, I knew my place. Soon after we started dating, Leo's mother had sought me out. She gave me a long, meaningful look, took a delicate sip of her coffee, and said, "You're still young. It's fine to date, but don't get yourself pregnant." She saw me as a gold digger, already scripting a drama in her head where I'd try to trap her son with a baby. She had investigated my background. When her people visited my home, my mother, impressed by their fancy car, demanded a $66,000 bride price. I was mortified when I heard the recording. Leo arrived right at that moment, pulling me out of that suffocatingly dark room. Because he insisted on being with me, his family cut him off financially. Nearing graduation, with the expenses of job hunting piling up, he just ruffled my hair and told me not to worry. How did the boy who was willing to defy his family for me rot away so completely? I studied journalism and got a job at a daily newspaper after graduation. The first paper I applied to rejected me after learning about my family background. It was Leo who pulled strings to get me my current position. This was the first time in years I had taken a day off. I wanted to plan my future. Just as I was typing my leave request, a message from my editor-in-chief popped up. Heard you're close with young Master Leo, Jade. We have an exclusive interview with him. It's yours. $200 bonus, and you'll be first in line for the next promotion. I was about to refuse, but the words caught in my throat. I didn't need a crystal ball to know this was Leo's idea. A power play to make me come crawling back. In the past, a few sweet words and an apology would have been enough for me to make excuses for him. For the first time, I had defied him, and it gave him a thrill of novelty. A privileged young master like him had never faced real rejection. I sighed and started preparing my interview questions. The next day, Leo smugly informed me that he had arranged a day off for me. There it was again, making decisions for me without a single thought for my opinion. He was charming, a master of deception, but I had known him for too long. I knew the rotten soul that lay beneath the handsome, wealthy exterior. I clicked my recording pen off and stood to leave. Leo put on a pitiful face and tugged at my sleeve. Jade, can we please just sit down and talk properly? I knew if I didn't resolve this now, he would only cause me more trouble. I glanced at my watch. You have 15 minutes. He nodded obediently, looking exactly like he did when I caught him secretly smoking after he promised to quit. It would be the same old excuses. And knowing Leo, I knew he would never change. He was a master at shifting blame, nothing was ever his fault. Jade, I was just joking that day, trying to show off. He began, glancing at me cautiously. We both knew whether it was a joke or his true feelings. My love was not a trophy for him to brandish. After all these years, I felt less like his girlfriend and more like the mother of a perpetually immature child, constantly tending to his fragile ego. Jade, believe me, I have never betrayed you. I packed my things and walked away, ignoring the tears welling up in his eyes. When he saw his usual tactics weren't working, he switched masks in an instant. Jade, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have my love, he snarled, his face hardening. I'm waiting for the day you come crawling back to me. I wouldn't regret it. He probably didn't know that on my private social media account, he was my only friend. And right below the profile of a notorious prostitution-related account, the app helpfully displayed the text, "You have one friend who follows this account." I had just brainwashed myself to trust him blindly. Besides, a colleague in the entertainment section had already told me that his mother had found him a fiancé for an arranged marriage. After finishing my interview notes, I headed to the parking garage, only to be blocked by Leo's blonde-haired crony. Sis-in-law, he drawled, leaning against my car with his arms crossed. It was just some drunken nonsense. You're not really going to take it seriously, are you? Please move, I said, my voice cold. He just kept grinning his yellow-toothed, sleazy smile. Don't be in such a hurry. Leo said you're trying to break up with him? That must be our fault then. But he was right about one thing. For a woman in her 20s, you still look as tender as a teenager. I frowned, a sense of unease creeping over me as his grin widened. He stepped closer, reaching a hand toward my face. Sis, if you dump Leo, how about you consider me? I'm in much better shape than that pale-faced weakling. He was actually trying to touch me. A surge of rage broke through my control. I threw a punch, square in his face. Before he could react, I had my phone out and was dialing the police. It was Leo who came to the station to bail out Blondie. He brought takeout, afraid his friend might suffer the slightest discomfort. The brand was familiar, expensive, something I had dreamed of trying for a long time. Leo had promised that once he was established at his company, he would take me there to celebrate. Even after I had enough money of my own, I never went. I was waiting to go with him. That long-held anticipation, worn thin over the years, finally vanished as I saw him hand the bag of food to his friend. I lowered my eyes, a self-mocking smile on my lips. After comforting Blondie, Leo looked around for the person who had called the cops. He saw me and assumed I was there for a story. Well, if it isn't star reporter Lou, he whistled, trying to look cool. Still working? Haven't fired you yet? I shot him a withering look. He looked around again, confused, until Blondie, grimacing in pain, pointed a finger at me. Leo's attitude softened instantly. Jade, he said, looking troubled. He was just trying to look out for me. Look out for him? I laughed out loud. So looking out for him meant he could harass and molest me? Some people really don't learn until they get a taste of their own medicine. I had acted in self-defense, and the man had sexually harassed me. He was going to be spending a few nights in a cell. I leaned in close to Leo, my voice a provocative whisper. If getting handsy with me is his way of looking out for you, then you must be a pretty pathetic person. Leo's face turned ashen. A moment later, he composed himself. Jade, his father is a very important business partner of my family's. If you send him to jail, it's going to be very difficult for me to explain. I had no intention of engaging with him. Ever since he had uttered those words in the bar, I had begun to reevaluate our entire relationship. Was a man so insincere worth my love? If I hadn't been strong from years of working out, I could have been assaulted. And Leo? Not a single word of concern for me. Instead, he wanted me to let a thug go free? What did he think I was, a saint? I let out a weary laugh. How had it taken me this long to see his true, hypocritical face? Seeing I was unmoved, Leo gritted his teeth and held out a bank card. There's $18,000 on this card. It's money I earned myself. I was saving it to marry you. Don't worry, he added, I can definitely win over my parents. My vision swam with anger. I slapped his hand away. Stop being so delusional. Every one of his actions, seemingly innocent on the surface, was rotten to the core. He stood there, holding the card, looking lost and helpless. His eyes began to redden. This trick had worked on me 100 times before. The old me would have been rushing to comfort him. The new me was numb. Leo, I'll give you 2 choices, I said. 1, he apologizes to me, this goes on his permanent record, and you never bother me again. 2, I sign a settlement agreement, and we sit down and discuss compensation. Leo stammered, clutching the card. Jade, if you sign the settlement, can I make him apologize to you? He frowned. I don't want my family to know my friend got arrested. For harassing you. It's not good for any of us. Especially you, Jade. You'll have to enter our social circle eventually. This will make people look down on you. I didn't say another word. I signed the settlement agreement for Blondie. As I walked out, I saw Leo waiting by the door, a hopeful look on his face. Without hesitation, I slapped him again. Now we're even. I hope you have the decency to stay far away from me in the future. I watched his stunned face, took 2 steps closer, and whispered in a voice only we could hear, by the way, your friend said you were a pale-faced weakling and not nearly as good as him. Leaving him with that, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot, I headed home in a surprisingly good mood. On the drive home, my editor called, something he never did after hours. Hey, Jade, the Yi family is putting on pressure. They're demanding you be fired. I was silent. Son of a bitch. I should have just slapped him with the interview transcript. The most my editor could do was to squeeze a hefty severance package out of the Yi family. I thought about it, but I couldn't swallow this injustice. But how could I retaliate against the powerful Yi family? And why, when Leo was so clearly thinking about cheating, was he still so desperate to get back together with me? When we first started dating, he would often take me to places I couldn't afford. I gently mentioned it once, and he looked hurt, carefully cutting my steak for me and murmuring, I just want my Jade to get used to my world. At the time, I felt a mix of guilt and joy. Looking back, it was just another way for him to flaunt his superiority. With the notes I prepared for him, Leo, who usually skipped class to go street racing, could pass his final exams with ease. He then used my guilt and love to put his name down as the lead on my projects, making it easy for him to win scholarships. I was nothing more than a blood bag for him to feed on. It all clicked into place. The reason Leo wouldn't let me go was simple: I still had value to him. I wasn't sure what that value was, but I knew it was something he wanted badly. I had a headache. I had to protect myself and find a way to bring down Leo and his entire family. As I was wrestling with this, my phone rang. This is Leo's fiancée. Is it convenient to talk? My heart skipped a beat. Despite my nervousness, I pulled myself together and went to meet this young miss. To my surprise, the woman, Luna, gave me a cool glance and said, "A top graduate from a university, what possessed you to become Leo's secret mistress? You're living such a pathetic life. You'd be better off begging me for help." My mind went blank. Secret mistress? What the hell? Seeing my pale face, Luna frowned. Are you okay? She seemed genuinely concerned. She opened her phone. Here, he said it himself. I saw the comment Leo had written in her social media feed. Her? Just a little plaything. If you don't like her, I'll cut things off clean before the wedding. Another crack appeared in my already frozen heart. My expression must have been terrifying, because the sheltered young lady looked startled. Actually, Luna said, it's not like I have to marry him. I have no power or people of my own. I want to ask for your help to get out of this engagement. You can have Leo, I don't mind. She studied me for a moment, then held out a USB drive. I think after you see what's on this, you'll want to cooperate with me. I found an internet cafe and plugged in the drive. The more I looked, the more horrified I became. The files were organized by date, detailing every instance of Leo's sabotage, secretly stealing my scholarship nominations, hijacking my competition entries, and even issuing a soft ban on me in the job market so I could only work at a small paper his family had shares in. All to control me better. My life was supposed to be more than this. I felt dazed. I contacted my closest friend from college. She told me what I already suspected. Leo couldn't stand to see me do better than him. He had even boasted to others about how a little bit of money was enough to make the top student in the journalism department grovel at his feet. Back then, my world revolved around him. But from the very beginning, the only person Leo ever loved was himself. I hated him. After escaping my toxic family, half of the hardships I faced were brought upon me by the man I had loved for years. He wanted to bind me with a false love, to make me his compliant, convenient partner for life. I bit my lip hard and deleted my browsing history. The moment I stepped out of the internet cafe, I knew I would agree to work with Luna. But then, a beautiful, vivacious young woman bumped into me, hard. She covered her mouth with a giggle. Oh, my. Is the old lady's eyesight failing her? Can't see where you're going? The man behind her stepped forward and wrapped an arm around her waist. Chloe, darling, why bother with an old hag like her? It was Leo. He pulled $200 bills from his wallet and tossed them on the ground. A tip for you. But that $10,000 your mother took? You'd better pay it back. Oh, just give it to my Chloe here. He turned and playfully pinched Chloe's cheek. I looked at Leo's smug face, then turned to Chloe with a sweet smile. It must be tough, serving this pale-faced weakling. Want me to introduce you to some energetic young guys, little sister? Leo's face twisted with rage. You bitch, don't push your luck. I just looked at him with mockery. He was so predictable. But the money he had secretly given my mother? It wasn't my responsibility to get it back. Do you remember, I asked, my voice light, when you gave my mother that $10,000, you noted it as a voluntary gift? I gave him a half-smile. You're the one who eagerly gave it away. You should be the one to get it back. He gritted his teeth, his expression turning sorrowful. Jade, I admit I misunderstood some things before. How about this? As long as you stop interfering in my private life, I can still spend one day a week with you. If you miss the old me, I can even take 2 days a week to act out the part for you." I scoffed. Who was he trying to insult? No, thanks. I have high standards. I'm not interested in small fry. I looked Chloe up and down. "You poor thing," I said with exaggerated pity. "You should really eat something better, honey." With that, I pushed past Leo and answered the call from Luna that was ringing in my ear. I twirled the 2 USB drives in my hand as Luna's clear voice came through my Bluetooth earpiece. "Did you meet with Chloe? Did everything go smoothly?" Chloe was my junior in college. She had been viciously slut-shamed and cyberbullied for her choice of clothing. I once found her behind the campus pond, numbly dragging a knife blade across her wrist. Her eyes were empty, like a soulless puppet. My heart ached for her. After learning her story, I decided to help her fight back. It wasn't her fault. Just because she had a curvy figure, she was branded with degrading labels. With the help of many other girls who were fed up with the toxic rumor mill, we successfully got the ringleader officially reprimanded, a mark that would follow him forever. When I heard Leo and his friends lewdly fantasizing about Chloe's body, I had a huge fight with him. We didn't speak for a long time. Eventually, he promised never to make such jokes again, and the argument ended. "Leo, your repeated concessions didn't just earn my forgiveness, they should have been my wake-up call. I was just blinded by a false love. When the fog lifts, the world becomes clear." I looked down, playing with the second USB drive Chloe had slipped into my hand. The Yeet Corporation was famous for its food products, but with the recent economic downturn, they had started cutting corners. The premium quality ingredients advertised were, in reality, frozen chicken feet that had been in storage for who knows how long. Chloe, thanks to Leo's infatuation, had accompanied him to the factory a few times and easily gathered the evidence. The Yi family was friendly with most major media outlets, so we couldn't leak the evidence through official channels. So what? I bought a social media account with 500,000 followers for a high price and posted the evidence of the filthy, disgusting production facilities online. The internet exploded. "Oh my God, doesn't the Yeet Corporation's conscience hurt when they call themselves an ethical company? I heard it was the young master's idea to cut costs. How vile." Leo, who had been fed sleeping pills by Chloe, woke up to find his world had collapsed. His phone was blowing up. The latest message was from his father. "Chingming, there's no other way. The family needs you to be the scapegoat." It was over. His life was over. The proud look in his father's eyes, the admiring gazes of his younger relatives, he would never see them again. Leo curled into a ball, desperately trying to think of a way out. The Yeet Corporation stock plummeted. The Food Safety Bureau was flooded with calls from concerned citizens. Before the Yi family could even react, their production facilities were sealed off. Influencers flocked to the scene to get in on the action. My God, if this is an ethical company, then the illegal workshop behind my house could go public. Trust me, don't eat while watching this video. You'll throw up last night's dinner. In a panic, Leo posted old photos of the clean, bright production line online, trying to deceive the public. But posting them now was just slapping himself in the face. The machines in those photos had long been shut down because he had refused to pay for maintenance. Besides, the Food Safety Bureau, responding to public demand, released the official video of the lockdown. The evidence was undeniable. The cockroaches, rats, and greasy, blackened sinks were all there for the world to see. This chain of events should have been familiar to Leo. We had used the same tactics before. We found the people who had started the rumors about Chloe and called the police right in front of them. We presented the recordings of them harassing and insulting her. Under police questioning, they panicked and claimed it was just a joke. Chloe and I refused to settle. We took them to court. In the end, they not only had to pay her compensation and receive a formal demerit, but they also had to stand under the national flag for 3 days, publicly confessing that their actions were born out of a twisted, possessive obsession. The incident went viral. When Leo found out I was involved, he had asked me with a worried look, "Jade, if I were ever in a situation like Chloe's, you would help me too, right?" What did I say back then? I think I smiled sweetly and told him, of course I would. Yes, of course I would help you. Help you fall straight into hell and be crushed to pieces. The Yi Corporation was on the verge of collapse. Even though the board threw Leo under the bus, their reputation was in tatters, and there was no hope of the stock price recovering. What Leo desperately needed was someone to save his reputation. And in his mind, the only person who could perform miracles for him for a small price was me. He would come for me. Though not in the way I expected. As I was walking down my usual route, turning into a familiar alley, a handkerchief with a strange, sweet scent was pressed over my face. I held my breath immediately. But I still inhaled a small amount. With my last shred of consciousness, I switched on the recording pen I always kept clipped to my belt. It was a reporter's instinct. I was woken by the prick of a needle. My eyes were covered, and I felt a chill run through my body. Blood was being drawn from my arm. Someone slapped my head. Look at this one, she's a real beauty. If she wasn't useful, I'd have had my fun with her already. Another, colder male voice warned him, shut up. The madam needs her blood for her treatment. There will be plenty of chances to deal with her later. I sneered internally, but kept my face impassive. So, Leo, your whole family has been using me as a blood bag. I remembered a long time ago, Leo had coaxed me into getting a checkup. A routine check should have only required 3 vials of blood. But the hospital claimed their storage equipment had broken and asked me to come back the next day to draw 2 more vials. Thinking back, that hospital was probably owned by the Yi Corporation as well. As the blood left my body, I grew dizzy and weak. Finally, they mercifully pulled out the needle. A doctor pried my eyelids open and examined my pupils. The lingering effects of the drug must have worked. I passed their test. A bucket of cold water was thrown in my face. I was forced to open my eyes, only to be met with 2 hard slaps from the fat man. He grabbed my chin, his face contorted in a lecherous grin. Sweetie, stay away from young Master Leo, and maybe my boss will let you go. The foul stench of his breath made me want to vomit. There was a frantic banging on the door. The 2 men exchanged a look and jumped out the window. A moment later, the flimsy wooden door burst open, revealing Leo's panicked face. Jade, are you okay? He looked at me, then slapped himself hard, huge tears rolling down his cheeks. It's all my fault. If I had been with you, you wouldn't have had to suffer like this. If it weren't for me, you might have been hurt by Luna. I looked at his hypocritical face and almost gagged. Just say it. What do you want? His eyes darted away, his lips trembling like an innocent flower. Jade, can you just admit that the news you reported was a plant from the Fu family? His eyes grew brighter as he spoke, spittle flying from his lips. You'll only lose your reputation as a reporter, but our Yi Corporation can make a comeback. We can even take over a huge chunk of the Fu family's market share. Then, you'll be the respected wife of the Yi Corporation's CEO. I sat on the cold floor, my head spinning, but I couldn't help but smile. What a joke. Was he still dreaming? For a journalist, integrity is everything. He wanted me to turn my career into a laughingstock to save his crumbling empire? The very empire I was painstakingly trying to destroy? Hilarious. And disgusting. What was even more disgusting was that even now, he was trying to use these hired thugs to frame Luna. He probably didn't know that my first meeting with Luna in that coffee shop wasn't our first meeting at all. When we were children, Luna and I were kidnapped together. During a moment of carelessness from our captors, I managed to escape, carrying an unconscious Luna with me. But when she woke up, the person who had saved her had become her childhood friend, Leo. I had always dismissed it as a false memory, a dream. But Luna told me it was real. Excuse me, a cool voice said from the doorway. I don't recall kidnapping Jade. Luna leaned against the doorframe, her arms crossed, a mocking smile on her face. Leo, exactly how many of your crimes have you blamed on me? Leo's face turned deathly white. He turned to me, his eyes brimming with tears. Jade, even if the love between us is gone, haven't I helped you so many times? He pleaded. Just think of it as repaying my kindness all these years. Find a way to bring the Yi family back to its former glory, please? I shook my head. His face contorted with rage. Lu Jade, I was wrong about you. I never thought you'd be such a thankless, despicable person. Luna, fed up with his shameless theatrics, swung a wooden plank she had picked up, breaking his leg. Who's the thankless one here? She asked, kicking him for good measure. Do you have any idea what you've done to Jade? Leo's face went gray. So he knew. He knew all along he was climbing on my back. He wanted my love, stole my achievements, and tried to destroy my body. Such a brilliant plan. The last vestiges of my feelings for him vanished. Bankruptcy wasn't enough. I swore he would receive a punishment he would never forget. I called the police. In front of the officers, I lifted my shirt to reveal the recording pen clipped to my waistband. Though a recording made without consent isn't typically admissible in court, as evidence of my kidnapping by Leo, it was more than enough. The pen crackled to life, playing the conversation of the kidnappers. Leo, looking gaunt and haggard, slumped to the floor, laughing like a madman. Go on, arrest me. This is the retribution you wanted, isn't it, Lu Jade? I smiled faintly and cupped his chin. You wish. He sneered, staring straight into my eyes. You have such a cruel heart. My heart is cruel? That was your own doing. I didn't look at him again. I took Luna's hand and walked out of the police station. The sky was so blue. With the kidnapping case officially opened and the police searching for the two thugs, a huge weight was lifted from my shoulders. I slept soundly for the first time in ages. I didn't expect to wake up to a deluge of online hate. A clap of thunder woke me in the middle of the night. I fumbled for my phone and saw my private messages exploding. Most of them were curses and insults. Stop posting this trash online. Doing things like this just to get a man's attention is disgusting. Confused, I opened the trending topics list. The top headline read, A university graduate's desperate ploy to win back ex-boyfriend. The poster seemed to no intimate details of my relationship with Leo, painting me as a scorned lover trying to get revenge, attempting to shift the focus from the company's scandal to our personal drama. A message from Luna popped up, Jade, how do you want to handle this? It was time to make public everything Leo had taken from me. I knew him too well. He was lazy, unwilling to put in the slightest effort. Even memorizing a script for a presentation was too much for him. I had all the files for his competitions, even his graduation thesis. I cross-referenced them with the files Luna had given me and compiled the evidence into a short video, which I posted on my account. The comments rolled in. This looks less like a romance and more like a history of slave labor. If I were Lu Jade's girlfriend, rubbing hands, anticipation. This is chilling, how dare Leo flip the script and cyberbully the poster. I smiled and posted the audio from the kidnappers as well. OMG. Dating Leo isn't just emotionally draining, it's literally life-threatening. The platform quickly deleted the audio, but not before countless users had saved it. Leo's call came quickly. Lu Jade, are you trying to destroy me? Haven't you hurt me enough? I hung up. He called 3 more times. I didn't answer. It would just be the same old tired accusations. Soon after, my mother called. Jade, why aren't you answering Leo's calls? Family should support each other. You call him back right now. I chatted with her nonchalantly for a few minutes, then asked, before she could process it, how much did he give you? 10,000, wait, no, you wretched girl, we already received 10,000. The original 10,000 I had promised them under duress, I had already paid off. I didn't owe them anything. Let the dogs fight. I would watch it like a play. The police investigation concluded quickly. Leo was charged with kidnapping and fraud. As the legal representative of the Yi Corporation, he was held fully responsible for the food safety violations. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and fined over $3 million. The Yi family tried to cut their losses, but the massive fine from the Food Safety Bureau was the final nail in their coffin. Leo's mother, overwhelmed by the news, fainted and was diagnosed with a brain tumor. She had been so afraid of the surgery failing that she had arranged to have my blood taken as a backup, while also plotting for Leo to play the hero, hoping to salvage the family's reputation in one fell swoop. Leo's father seized the opportunity to bring his mistress and his illegitimate, and far more capable, son into the family home. The shock caused Leo's mother to have a stroke. With Leo in prison and helpless, the Yi Corporation officially declared bankruptcy. I let out a long breath. A mountain had been lifted from my shoulders. After the dust settled, I took the compensation money and began to think about my next move. From a very young age, I knew I was a child without a home. Even though I had a house, its warmth never reached me. The slightest kindness was enough to make me jump into a pit of fire. But now, I had the ability to reparent myself. Perhaps I had it 2 years ago, but I mistook false love for the real thing and lost myself in the wilderness, like a parasitic vine with nothing to cling to. But I am not a parasite, even if I have nowhere to cling. I have myself. I will grow into a towering tree, and I will soar. I thought of the old principal from my mountain village. I decided to use the platform I had gained from exposing the Yi Corporation to help other girls like me, to give them the power to decide their own futures. The crooked path I had walked, they would walk a little less of it. 10 years later, Leo was released from prison. His father had long since died of a heart attack, provoked by the illegitimate son, who inherited everything. The illegitimate son, wary of Leo, pretended to be welcoming and introduced him to the city's underbelly, where Leo quickly racked up massive gambling debts. Desperate, Leo remembered the $20,000 he had given my parents. He tracked them down, only to find the money was long gone, squandered away. Enraged, he demanded my contact information, waving a knife. In the ensuing struggle, he stabbed my brother. My parents, who had never cared about me, went ballistic at the sight of their precious son being hurt. They attacked Leo, screaming at him to go find me for the money. Leo, already on edge, snapped. The 2 elderly people who had so cheerfully taken his money years ago were now clawing at him relentlessly. A blind fury took over, and he stabbed them both. My precious brother, upon seeing the river of blood, fainted from shock, missing the crucial window to call for an ambulance. By the time he came to, our parents were dead. Leo, barely out of prison, was sent back in. This time, for life. The village committee called me to handle the funeral arrangements. I transferred them $20 and told them to scatter the ashes wherever they pleased. After all, my money was needed elsewhere, to help saplings plant their roots.